while for the front brakes, so I went ahead and ordered the rear brakes for Project Double Trouble, so that I would have them when we're ready to install them. But today we're going to unbox our front brakes. That's going to be the focus on this week's video. We'll probably unbox the rear brakes as well, so we can get them out of this bigger box and onto a shelf. So that comes with the hardware kit. The pads, and 2 calipers. Calipers I selected for this one are the C5, C6 Corvette director mount front, and they are the Wilwood calipers in red, and this is a substantial sized caliper for the front of this project. This is going to be, it says, okay, so it's just the label. It says the bases with pads and rotors. So this will be the bases. Again, they're very large in size. I can already tell that the 16-inch rollers that I picked up at the junkyard to roll it around on in my shop are not going to be big enough. These are going to require, it doesn't say here, but if I remember reading right, these are going to require a 17-inch rim on the front, which means we'll find a matching rim for the back. And these are drilled and slotted. So we're going to install those this week. But let's set them aside and see what is coming for the rear end. You'll remember I have the Ford 9-inch. The new Ford 9-inch, the big one. That'll be going on the adapter rotor registration ring. That'll be going on the rear end of this truck. This is our emergency brake assembly. Definitely want to be able to stop that. We'll be using E-Stop. It's a push button activated electric emergency brake. Since we're trying to do all 21st, 22nd century products in a 1950 Willie. So again, we have the red caliper. They're a little bit smaller than the front ones. They weigh a whole lot less too. So we've got 2 of those. We've got the brake pads. We've got the hardware. And again, we went with drilled and slotted. So we definitely want to be able to stop this piece when it's rolling down the road. I'll list the part numbers on the video in the description like we normally do. And let's get out there and see if we can install some brakes on the front end of this thing. Welcome back to the garage. Today we're going to put the brakes on Project Double Trouble. And yes, I mean the literal brakes. I bought Wilwood disc brake kit, 4-wheel, front and back. The front brakes are for a 1997 to 2013 C5, C6 Chevy Corvette. I did a little bit of test fitting this morning, and I did find out that the bolts provided in this kit were a little long, so we did have to make a run out to the hardware store and get a shorter bolt. But other than that, this is going to be a simple bolt-on procedure for the front. So let's get these installed, and then we'll move to the rear brakes. I'm looking at the front cover. Disc brakes should only be installed by someone experienced and competent in the installation and maintenance of disc brakes. Well, that's not me. But we're going to do it anyway. And it says, important and highly recommended. Take photos of the brake system before disassembly and during the disassembly process. In the event, troubleshooting photos can be lifesavers. Well, we're building this thing from scratch, so we don't have any before photos, but Wilwood does give me some great installation photos, so we're going to use those. So let's just go through the steps as outlined here and see how much trouble we can get into. I'm going to adjust the camera, and instead of looking at my ugly mug, we can be looking at the brake assembly. All right, so as I said, this is a Corvette spindle built on the Speedway Motors universal front suspension. The rotor or hat provided is a direct bolt-on. So we're going to throw a couple of lug nuts on here just to keep this rotor in place. There we go. That's not going anywhere. And the calipers for this are part number 120-13915-RD, meaning that we got them in red. Like I said, they came with bolts. The bolts were, however, ½ inch too long. So just a quick run out to the hardware store, and I was able to pick up a shorter bolt, which is going to work perfect for this application. So after picking up the correct bolt size, we're just going to bolt these bad boys right on. Paint residue or something inside there. And that's all there is to the front. I'm not going to put the pads in because we're going to rip it all off again when we get ready to paint. But I needed to have the hubs on here so I can start to get the position for my brake lines. So I'm going to put the other one on the other front corner, and then we'll do a video installing the rear brakes. They're going to be a little bit more complicated because they have an emergency brake. Before we can install the rear brakes, we have to put the rear axles in the axle housing. So let's get that done, and then we'll do brakes. Up on the cardboard sleeve. A quick solution to relieve that problem. Okay, we got the front brakes on. Now we're going to try to do the back brakes. In order to put the back brakes on, I actually had to complete the axles. So we took it out to the press, put the studs in the axle, all the bearings and everything on the axle, and now we need to put the axle into the rear end. Find the slot in the third member for the splines. So when I was attempting to put the axle in on the driver's side there in that video, it kept bottoming out. We couldn't figure out what was going on there, and so we looked inside the third member, and actually the gears inside of the differential did not line up. So we could get through one valley, but into the second gear we hit the peak of the gear. So I had to pull that third member out, ship it back to Speedway. They adjusted it, shipped it back to us, and we installed it back in the differential. Then that same axle kept bottoming out, and we determined that it was too long. So another phone call to Speedway, and their solution was simple: shorten the axle. So I took the axle out to my chop saw, cut 1/4 inch off the axle, and it slid right in. So we had to do all of that in order to get the axles in order to get the brakes. But that's where we are, and now let's get back out to the shop and finish installing those brakes. Okay, we have the front brakes on, so it's time to put the back brakes on. Again, I used the Wilwood brake components, and so we're starting with the emergency brake, which bolts on here and has a little retainer. And some bolts, or some nuts. Oops. Guess it would help if I actually had a bolt in there to put the nut on. then we have an axle. And these are nice Curry Enterprise axles that came from Speedway Motors with the Ford 9-inch rear end. Seat that axle in there. We've got a centering ring. It goes right over here. And these discs come with multiple holes, so it's finding the right ones that match our bolt pattern. And we did, there it goes, slides right on. We did the Chevy bolt pattern option, so it's 5 on 4.75, so that the rear wheels match the front wheels. Ironically, my studs in the back are not the same as the studs in the front. So I do have to have different lug nuts, but the same wheels will fit front and back. And then for calipers, we again, because we went red in the front, we decided to go with, or I decided to go with red in the back as well. Just to complete the look. And those are going to go here. And they do provide you with a bolt kit, to attach the caliper to the emergency brake backing plate. There we go. Those bolt washers, and again the spacers are in here. I am not going to put the pads in, so we're not going to use the spacers until we actually put the pads in and get them centered. But I have a product that's coming tomorrow in the mail, or not in the mail, it's being shipped to me, arriving tomorrow by the truck, and I want to show you that tomorrow. So I need to have these brakes on today. That is it. There's really not much to installing them in the back. Got some lug nuts on here. We're going to put the brakes on the other side, and that'll wrap this up for today. Okay, quick run over here to the other side, and we will throw the brakes on the driver's side. Having never done brakes before, I actually thought that this was going to be a lot harder than it actually was. And I realized that this isn't the whole thing. I still got brake lines and brake pedals and bleeding the brakes and all of those fun things to do. But as far as the bolt-on procedure, this was relatively simple. I've seen videos, people taking off their drum brakes and installing disc brakes. And frankly, if it's this easy to do, I think it's a project that a lot of people should consider. I did read a comment this week in my YouTube channel. Somebody posted a dialogue about how my videos needed to be edited and formatted and cleaned up and all kinds of stuff. And although I appreciate your comments, I think I've been straightforward from the very beginning. I'm not a mechanic, I'm not a videographer. This is my project. Hopefully you'll stay tuned and keep watching. But if you're looking for NBC, CBS, Fox quality video, you've come to the wrong place. If you're looking for a regular down-home Joe, then stay tuned, because that's what you're going to get. So my axle was actually too long, and I called Speedway Motors and asked them what to do about it. The technician, Ryan, he was very, very helpful, but basically what he said is take a chop saw to it and cut a 1/4 inch off. So that's what we did. So last time I tried this, the axle bottomed out in the third member. The gears weren't lined up. So I would get one valley and then I would hit a peak in the gear behind it. And so we sent it off to Speedway, and they actually turned it around and had it back to us in a week. It's probably something that if you were a mechanic, you could have fixed it easy peasy lemon squeezy. But since I'm more concerned with my warranty and not having the experience, I'd rather have the factory fix it. So we got our spacer. We're going to throw our spacer on there. So anyway, now the axle fits perfectly. So let's throw us another disc on here. There we go. Tiny red brakes. Again, everything is going to be taken off of this when it goes to powder coating and paint. So if you notice, I'm not using a lock washer, or I'm not using a compression fitting or something. It's simply because I'm saving all of those for the final install, and I'm using just plain old nuts and the nylocks will go around the next time. All right, so that's front and rear brakes, 4-wheel disc brakes on the Project Double Trouble. like I said, I have a product coming tomorrow that I purchased at the SEMA show, and so the next video I'm going to be showing that. But enjoy, and please come back for another one.